Hi, and welcome to episode 90 of the Voices of Boyle podcast. Can you believe we're at episode 90? Because we can't. We're just about to turn the corner for 100, and we're absolutely delighted to have today's guest on our show. She grew up in Termon. She worked in the telephone exchange in Galway in the 1970s, and she has been collecting incredible stories ever since. She answered a bomb threat during the Troubles, watched the Pope bless her from the papal helicopter, and she travelled to Bosnia during the war with 26 suitcases of aid. She also wrote a poem about Boyle that she reads at the end of this episode. Our guest today is Dolores Sheerin, and we'd like to welcome you to episode 90 of the Voices of Boyle. Welcome to the Voices of Boyle, Dolores.
Thank you.
Great to have you on.
Very welcome, Dolores.
Thank you very much.
We just had a nice slice of apple tart and a coffee, so we've had a great welcome.
The blood sugar levels are through the roof.
Spiked, high as kites. So, Dolores, we're going to, I suppose, first of all, for those of you that may not know you, tell us, who is Dolores and where did you grow up?
My name is Dolores Sheerin, and I grew up in Termon in Boyle with my grandparents and aunts and cousins. And I lived in Boyle for a lot of my life, went to school in Boyle and all the usual things that I got up to when I was a teenager. And I went to secondary school and I sat my leaving cert, and that was in 1975. And that time, if you didn't pass your maths, your leaving cert was no good, even though you might have done well in every other subject, which thank God that's changed now. So then I decided to apply for the civil service to become a telephonist, or as some people like to call us, call girls.
Yeah.
And I was sent first of all to Moylurg to train, and then I was sent to Galway. And I was sent to Gort and to Clifton and back to Galway. So it was a big culture shock to me to be in a city.
Yeah.
And absolutely loved it. Took a while to get used to it. It seemed huge.
Yeah.
And the diversity of people, well, it's more so today, the diversity of people, but to me...
But even back then, Dolores, you were coming from such a small town.
Yes.
You know, and as we said, the internet now, you can see everything before you get there. But back then, you had no idea what was ahead of you.
No, you had no clue. And I was lucky enough, my husband now, Benny, he was also working in the post office in Galway. He was a clerk at that time. And I was a telephonist, and he was downstairs and I was upstairs.
Yeah.
And there was 150 girls employed in the telephone exchange. And I wouldn't say it was too hard of work, but the crack was mighty.
Yeah.
And you had to do your job, but the social life was amazing. And several little things happened. That time, the time of the Troubles up north, one day I answered. You had to have 14 connections up at a time and, keep going. And I answered, unfortunately, it had to be me. And this guy told me there was a bomb in the telephone exchange during the Troubles. That time you did not laugh at that. The whole place had to be evacuated. Down Eglinton Street had to be evacuated. The Garda station was down there. The army were called in. And thank God it was a hoax.
Wow.
But of course it had to be Dolores that got the call. But I was being paid back because we had a habit in the telephone exchange. If we had contrary people ringing in and they annoyed us, we wouldn't be pushing them through to the hospital or the doctor. We'd put them through to the AI to see could they get seen to. The AI was for animals, for to be doctored. And
ye naughty women, ye.
So it was a standing joke. Who was the one that was going to be put through to the AI if they annoyed you? And then it so happened that my husband was told to go out to where they have the races in Galway. I think it's Ballybrit.
Oh, Ballybrit, yes.
And he was with all the other workers, and they were getting ready for the Pope's visit, and they were doing all the technical stuff that time. and there was a draw in the telephone exchange to see who was going to be allowed to go and given the day off. And unfortunately, I thought at the time I was one of the ones that was told, no, you're working. So he went off out, and he was very near the Pope on the podium. He was no distance away from Pope John Paul II. He was no distance, and neither were the other lads working with Eircom now.
Yeah.
And I was in the telephone exchange, and everything went deadly silent because everybody was
At the
in
pub,
Ballybrit.
watching, yeah.
And we got a phone call from one of the supervisors, and she said, climb out onto the roof of the telephone exchange. The papal helicopter is going to be going over the roof. And 7 of us climbed out onto the roof. And we could hear the noise of the helicopter coming, the whirring. And we looked over, and here it was. And it came right over us. He was looking out the window, and he blessed us.
No way.
And of course,
Amazing.
all of us were crying our eyes out. We didn't know why we were crying, but it's the emotion of it.
Was that 77 or 79?
I think it was 79, but I'm not 100%
when it
sure.
came to knock, yeah.
I think it was 79. So we were, it was just
Honoured.
the most amazing feeling in the world.
Wow.
And it paid us not to have to go out to Ballybrit because the rest of them could just see a dot. But we saw him in the helicopter, and he looked out, he
And
smiled,
blessed
and he
you.
blessed us.
And there was only 7 of you as well.
There was only 7, and everybody came in, and everybody was shaking and laughing, and it was wonderful.
Wow.
To be that close.
Unbelievable, Dolores. Well, it paid not to get the day off then, didn't it?
It did.
Poor
yeah.
Benny didn't get as good of an experience. So I suppose our post office here obviously closed down there in the old building last week, and there was a lot of chat going on about the job of
Yes.
the call girls, as
Yeah.
you said. Talk to us a little bit about the role. What did you do, and what was the job like? Because they were actually saying how prestigious of a job that it was.
As a telephonist.
Yeah, that it
that
was a
time it
really
was.
important role.
It was a very important role, especially if you had to, when people were in trouble.
Yes.
People needed the fire brigade, the guards, a lifeguard. The lifeguards, whatever it was, you had to be able to know what to do and how to react. And I suppose the important thing was to keep calm while you were speaking to them. And you'd often got somebody just rang up for the chat.
Yeah.
They were lonely,
Oh.
very lonely. And
So when you
would-
answered the call then, Dolores, what would you say?
Well, you just say a number, please, and they if they wanted a number, they say, I need the guards straight away, and you say, okay, I'm getting the guards, but you want to find out,
Why?
to calm them down, to
Yeah.
find out the background, and they're in such a rush to tell you
Yeah.
that, you move, you're talking to them and you're already working on getting the guards. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
You're already plugging into the guards station, and you're putting them on hold, and you're getting the guards, and you're calming them down, and you're telling them you're going to be okay,
Wow.
And was
Yeah.
it possible then, not saying anyone did it, but was it possible to listen in on calls?
Oh, of course it was. But
Right.
if you had...
Of course.
I'm not saying you did it.
No,
that work.
no, but seriously, it
Yeah.
was possible.
Yeah,
But you know something? You wouldn't like your own call to be listened into.
exactly.
You really
Yeah.
wouldn't.
You wouldn't, because
You
there's no
know-
privacy then in that way.
No, there wasn't. But there was one perk to the job, that if you were off for the day, and that time you might need a phone call to Boyle. I see, you ring up the telephone station, this is me, can you put me through? They were known as book-shees. They were free phone calls.
Ha
yeah,
You were hacking
yeah.
the system.
But the other thing was that the supervisors had a desk in the middle of the floor, and they could plug into you.
Oh, okay.
When you were working at your desk, they could plug in, and they could listen to how you were treating the customers and your calls. And if you were on a private call, they could tell. And you would
Okay.
be hauled over the coals. And the postmaster in Galway was particularly strict. You'd be called up about your absence, about lateness with the supervisor. But if it got to a stage that you were absent a long time, you'd be called up in front of the postmaster.
And that was a
Explain yourself.
big thing, yeah.
It was scary because some of them were lovely, but some of them weren't so lovely, But it was
Yeah.
a most fantastic job.
So you worked as a telephonist in the Galway.
Galway
you never
telephone
worked. You never
exchange.
worked in the one on Boyle.
No, I never
No.
worked in the one in Boyle, but when I left Galway to move back home, I got an offer of 9 months in Carrick-on-Shannon Telephone Exchange before they went automatic. So I was there the day they went automatic, and there was no need for a telephone exchange anymore. And we all sat at the switchboards and we cried.
Yeah.
End of an era.
End of an era and end of friendships. Really, you
Yeah.
say you keep in touch, but it doesn't always happen.
No internet
And
back then,
What
yeah.
year was that, Dolores? Or can you remember?
Yeah, that was about 1983, 82, 83. Yes. Yeah.
So at that stage, how many years had you been in Galway?
I had been about 7 years in Galway
So
at that
wow,
stage.
that's a long
Yeah,
time.
Yeah.
So then moving home, what was that like after Galway?
Oh, I couldn't wait to get home.
Really?
We had bought a house in Galway, and Benny got transferred to Sligo, which would be the nearest thing to Boyle. And he said, "Do you want to live in Sligo?" And I said, "No, I'm going home." And we moved back to Boyle then, and we bought a house up in Low Parks, and then we had Brendan already, and then we had Colm and Kieran, and I was vastly outnumbered by 3 men and a husband, so I had to introduce them to the Hoover, and I had to tell my husband the washing machine was not a television, even if it moved. So I put them to work.
So family life then, Dolores, as you said, it was a busy time with the boys
very
growing
busy.
up, and football and school
scouts.
and yeah.
And it was hard work going, with 3 boys, but they were good boys, and I suppose every mother says that, but they were.
Yeah.
And we were involved in a lot of things. We did a lot of things with them,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So moving on, Dolores, faith in spirituality is a massive part of your life.
It is. Faith and spirituality is
Yeah.
very big, very dear to me.
Yeah.
I give it all the credit to my grandmother who reared me. She was just a very special woman and had deep faith, and she passed it on and to her children as well. And it was just a funny incident with her. A long time ago, Mary's Carnival used to come to Boyle, and it used to be on the Crescent. And they had these stalls where they'd have all these household items that you could win in a raffle, and statues and holy pictures. And she was an absolute avid fan of Saint Martin. There was no other man apart from her husband for her. So we went over to the carnival, and I was with her. And anyway, she was standing there, and she said to me, "Oh, look at the statue of Saint Martin. If only I could win that." And I was only young, and I said, "Now, please God, she wants Saint Martin. Would you not give it?" Tried to blackmail God. And the next thing, anyway, her number came up, 99. And he said to her, "What do you want?" "I want him, Saint Martin." So he was about that height, and he was a lovely statue of Saint Martin. So we go out home, and my grandfather was asleep on the chair at the fire, and she put Saint Martin looking down at him on the little unit beside him. So she called him, and she told him to wake up. And you see, he was in such a sleep, he woke up, and he saw this statue, and he nearly jumped out of the seat.
He thought it was an
He thought
apparition.
it was an apparition. And she just said to him, "I knew Saint Martin would get you someday." And that's, I suppose, she was the driving force behind the faith. She was a very good living person, and she had this thing that you treat everybody well and you don't come against people. And she had one thing: if you owe money to anybody, her attitude was, if they're good enough to give it, they're good enough to get it back, no matter what you have to sacrifice. That was her attitude.
And isn't that lovely to pass on those values?
Oh, she was wonderful, and I loved her to bits. But unfortunately, I lost her when I was 11. So,
you still have a lot of memories, though.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So she passed it on.
Yeah, that's lovely. And it's been central to your life, Dolores.
Very much.
And obviously shaped the way you live your life too.
Yes, well, I try.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, that's all we can do.
Exactly.
So we're going to touch a little bit on your writing, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, Dolores was part of the Moylurg Writers Group, and her writing featured in their version of Writers of the Plain edition, which was published in 1999. You wrote 2 pieces for it. One was Memory Lane, and one was a poem entitled Boyle. And for those that don't know what the Moylurg Writers were, They were a community-based writers' circle that focused on capturing personal memories, local history, poetry, short stories and reflective writing. It was really a space where people could share their work out loud, which was important, get encouragement and share feedback. So that's what the Moylurg Writers was. So we'd love to know how you got into the writing and how you became part of the group.
Well, how I became part of the group was I met Veronica O'Connor, who was a founder member. And Veronica just said to me one day, we were chatting, would you like to come to the writers group? And I go, oh, but I can't write.
Yeah.
And she said, come to the group. And she said, everybody can write. And that's how it started. And once I started to go to the group, I thought I was in heaven. I could not believe that I could write bits and pieces, and prose and poetry. And I used to leave the group at night excited about the next meeting.
And prior to that, Dolores, I'd be always interested and fascinated by people who start things and it clicks with them. They're really good at it. Had you done any writing prior to that?
None whatsoever, but I was an avid reader.
Right.
But I
And did you have a creative streak in you?
Well, I think I did.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Sort of, it's just when other people would read out their stuff, you're going, oh my God.
I know.
And each person would critique the work, but in a constructive manner,
Yes,
not
of course.
negative,
Yeah.
And everybody encouraged everybody else. And we had writing workshops and we had guest speakers and like a simple thing like putting a bottle on the table and tell 8 people, well, will you write about that bottle? Well, I could see that bottle with a top on it and lid on it, and that could be full of emotions and it could be coming up and blow up. Somebody else could see something totally different, And that's how I discovered I could write. And the more joy I got at it, the better.
Brilliant.
And you think that was as a result, maybe, that from all the reading you were doing, that you had that kind of ability to kind of creatively describe things, maybe?
Maybe, yes,
Yeah,
I
okay.
think so,
Yeah,
because
that
the
makes
reading
sense.
played a big part in
Sure.
it, And then I wrote several different pieces and I got commended for 1 or 2 and that helped a little bit, to build you up a little bit. And everybody in the group was delighted for everybody else if they got something, if they were commended or, it was such a supportive network. And then, of course, we were in the back room of Uncreeveen writing away.
I was going to ask,
Yeah.
where did you meet?
Yes, in
Yeah.
the Uncreeveen in the back room.
On a Tuesday, was it?
On a Tuesday. And we had our bowled jury owner, barman, commenter on life, great crack.
Yeah.
And then we used to go outside and have a few drinks and it was great.
Yeah.
It was fantastic, and one night we were there and Mrs. Brown's boys, your man, Brendan O Dowd, had been sort of not too much on the scene, but beginning to get noticed. And myself and another girl, we did a sketch on a Dublin bus with these 2 old ones. And we had great crack in the pub that night. This was what happened. It was like some of it was impromptu, just how did that happen?
Yeah.
And
how many years did you go, Dolores? How many years were you part
I
of the
think
group?
it was 4 or 5 years, and then it's sort of like everything else. It went away for a while, but it's now up and running again with different people.
Is it?
Fantastic.
It is.
Remember I was saying
Yes.
to you about the previous 2 books to that were published. I think it was 1989 and 1990 on the volumes of Boyle. The
Yes.
2 of them. I think they were the Moylurg Writers as well. And I always said, wouldn't it be great to get, a new edition of those done
It would.
to fill the gap between 1990 and nowadays?
But
Yeah.
I think the new group of Moylurg writers have published stuff, but I don't know if they've published books or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Might
but
be
it
all
is up and
online.
running,
Yeah,
but
brilliant.
different
Great.
crowd.
And as you said, Dolores, you've written many pieces. What, as a writer, inspires you to create? Like, is it, the way some people say they're inspired by nature or memories or anything? Is there anything specifically?
It's all different things,
Yeah.
really, because if you meet somebody down the town and they make a comment and you go, there's a poem in that,
Yeah.
or there's a song in that, which happened to myself. I wrote a poem, and this famous Galway poet, Rita Ann Higgins, she came to Boyle to give us a workshop. So she asked me, it was prose and poem, would you read it out? So I did. And she goes to me, that's not a poem, that's a song. And I go, yeah. And she goes, I'm telling you, that's a song. You need to go to somebody. I didn't tell you this before, but anyway.
Yeah, this is news to us now.
This song, anyway, was called Be Free, My Inner Child. So I wrote this song, and as I thought it was a poem. And my brother-in-law, John Costello, who's an absolute amazing musician and singer-songwriter, he looked at it and I said, is there any way that this could be turned into a song? And he said, leave it with me. So he gets on to his good friend, Charlie McGettigan. And Charlie said, true, John, tell her I'd like to tweak it. And I said, tell him he can't tweak it too much because it would take it in a different direction.
The originality, yeah.
And so there was just 2 words and he ran it by me and he said, okay. So they recorded it, put music to it. And it was taken by a man in Kilkenny who was a famous tenor. And I can't think of his name now, it was so long ago. And he recorded it.
Wow.
Yeah, and I got it on CD.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, so
That's
that
great.
was...
It's a nice little addition to the
it was,
portfolio.
It was nice.
And
yeah.
she was dead right, that lady that had come over.
She was so right.
So
Yeah.
some people have that ability as well to see things in a different, the way you do and the way that lady saw your poem, as you said, but it was actually in her head a song. And then an actual musician said, yeah, let me work
tweak that.
It's amazing how that happens.
Yeah, so that's what happened with that. And then I suppose it's like if you're just even talking about the Green, going up the Green. My aunt lived up the Green and Lily, and I was always going up there, and I would be an observer, I suppose. And on the way up the Green, I just absolutely love characters, and I love old people because they're honest, and children.
yeah.
And I used to go up the Green every day after school. I'd go up to visit, and I used to pass this little shop near where Tess Shannon's is now and the car park. And it was Rosie and Vera Cox had this little shop, and it was confectioners. But I'm sure they sold other things, but all you see was the white penny mice in the window. You know, you could eat them. And that time, the aniseed balls, but we called them Nancy balls.
Yeah.
Because that's what they were known as. You wouldn't call them that now, being politically correct and woke. And there was a lot of cough no more bars, and there was a lot of, little things like that. But when you walked into the shop, it would be, Rosie would be the sister, and she'd be dressed in a little blouse and a long skirt, and she'd have her little black button boots and her hair up. And she was so lovely. And if she liked you, you'd get extra.
Yeah.
But if you looked in, you could see the parlour and the crisp white tablecloth, and it all set out for tea, and you get this lovely smell of food. And that was Vera, the sister, being there. She was in charge of that sort of department.
Yeah.
But so, I used to go in with my aunt. She'd be going in for something, and I'd go in, and she seemed to like me anyway, because she always gave me extra.
You get
an
few
sweet,
yes, which is a big
and it
deal.
meant a lot back then.
And then we'd go up the Green but opposite that,
The bakery.
Egan's Bakery.
Yeah.
And Tommy and Winnie Egan had the bakery. But you would be passing out with hunger with the smell of this lovely bread. And my grandmother would say, you have to go up and get a loaf in Egan's for me. And I'd go in and they'd wrap it in this lovely tissue paper, like gold tissue paper. And you'd be going up home. And of course, you couldn't help it.
Yeah.
You'd take a swipe out of the bread and eat it. And then you get another swipe
When you
home.
got up.
For
Yes. Yeah.
But it was worth it.
It was worth it. And then going up the Green Hill at that time, there was houses up there called the Slated Halls, up where the houses are presently, where...
Just on the bend.
We know where Christy Regan, God have mercy on him, lived. Those where those houses are, there were Slated Halls there. And from the people that I knew, two different people that lived there, they told me there were rooms in those houses. You didn't rent the whole thing. You only rented a room. and there'd be an open fire in it, and they did their best. The times were very, very hard, and they were poor, and they would be like nearly not as bad, but near enough like tenements in Dublin.
Yes, yeah.
You know,
the original
and they weren't maintained or anything like that. But that I remember those, and then I remember this happening. There was a man in Boyle, as I said, Tommy Egan.
Yeah.
And Tommy was just an amazing man. And he could laugh at himself. And I know if he was here now, he wouldn't mind me saying this. Tommy had a wooden leg.
That's right.
And he had a glass eye.
Yes, I remember him.
But he was such a kind person, and he was full of stories. So when I'd be going down the green, I couldn't drive that time, so I'd be wheeling Brendan in the buggy, and I'd be coming down the hill. So this beautiful sunny day, it was the 31st of August, I remember the date, and I came down to the bottom of the hill, and Tommy was outside the bakery. It was, I think, nearly gone at that stage, the bakery, but he was there. And he stood up talking, and he told me about a neighbour that had died. And I had been very upset about it because I loved her to bits. She was a lovely woman. So we were just chit-chatting, and we both sort of looked up the green at the same time. And there was this lovely, tall, handsome gentleman coming down the green. And this man was a very good reader, and he could talk on many's a subject, but he was a shy, refined sort of a man, kept to himself. But he was lovely. But he had decided in his wisdom that he was going to get himself a wig. And unfortunately, the wig was never fitted right, so it was skew ways on him. But he thought it enhanced things, but it didn't. So this particular morning, looked up, and he had a woman on his arm. At this stage, he was in his 50s, and there never had been a sign of a woman. So I looked at Tommy, and he looked at me, and we both looked up, and I said, "Where did he get her?" And he goes, "She was a mail order bride. He got her the same place as he got the wig."
Yes.
Brilliant.
You couldn't write that one.
Very
Brilliant.
That's who you met in the green.
Course, yeah.
You met characters.
Yeah.
Well, the town was full of them.
Full of them.
Full of really them. Was.
Yeah.
Speaking of them houses that you mentioned, Dolores, I remember hearing that the first houses ever built in Boyle would have been up at maybe, where the Church of Ireland is, up opposite that, along that,
yes,
where that estate is for, that there was the first houses, they reckon, were built along there. Because that coincided then with the early days of the fair that used to be up there.
That's
as well,
right.
Back in the day.
Yes.
So it's interesting.
Yes, because actually you're right about that, but going up the Green Hill past Mary Sheridan's house where the pump is, the old pump, there's the outline of houses there.
That's right.
And there was a laneway up there as well, but those outline of houses was where my great-grandparents lived.
Really?
And as you said, you can still see
you can see the door and the window.
There for years like that as well.
Yeah. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That pump was has been mentioned a lot. I even photographed it was a meeting point.
It was for all the women.
Yes,
to go for their water and solve problems or kill each other or whatever.
All that,
great gossip.
The water cooler of the office, say, today.
Yes,
that's true.
That is so true.
Yeah. So we'll continue, I think, on the memory lane thing, Dolores, because I have a few bits here from your own piece that you had done for the Moylurg Writers. And I'm just going to quote maybe 3 or 4 things that you said yourself. So the first one is, "Boyle, my beautiful hometown, every stone path and by way I love." We talked just before recording how much Boyle means to you and how much you love it. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, I suppose Boyle to me was a magical place growing up, because when you lived in Termon, you knew all your neighbours and they knew you. And if you did something out of the way, a neighbour wouldn't hesitate to give you a little scalp. And your grandmother wouldn't hesitate to give their one a little one as well. And everyone helped each other out. And they just had this thing of, we're a group. We're all together. We look out for each other. and playing out until 10 o'clock at night in the summer and playing marbles and playing with your friends and hitting the ball off the cinema, as it was then, and watching the men playing at the toss pits that used to be at the back of the cinema. The men used to play pitch and toss or whatever they call it. Them days.
I never knew that.
Yeah, there was 2 spots there, one right behind the cinema and one further down near Paddy Daly's. And depending on who was winning or losing, the language could be very colourful, and you'd be told to keep well away from there, but you'd still, be hanging out. You had good friends. You had everything was a very sort of innocent, back then, pulling tricks on each other and doing that. And nowadays, it's not the same.
It's not.
Like, you didn't have to knock and say, "Can I come in?" You walked in.
Yeah.
You didn't have to, of course, there wouldn't be telephones then. You didn't have to ring and say, "Is it okay to call?" Now it was just everybody go in and out. And they were great for going to funerals. I know that's a different subject, but they were brilliant for supporting each other.
But that's exactly, Dolores, it was those little things that made the difference.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
And, if anybody was sick, they'd call to the door, "Is there anything we can do to help?" There were just this feeling of togetherness.
Yeah.
And then the town itself, it was great fun in the town, going to the dances, going to the cinema, going down to the pavilion for a disco with Brendan O Dowd.
We talked
brilliant
about
man.
At the tennis club.
The tennis club and Brendan
DJ
O'Dowd.
Brendan, huh?
DJ Brendan, brilliant man. And when he put on the white lights and everybody made sure that a white T-shirt or something white.
The fluorescence,
Look,
They'd
you
glow.
look the part, you glow. And just all the people, that you got to know. They were amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing people. And to this day, I notice that the people in Termon are very good for going to funerals and supporting.
Yeah.
They are very good.
It was always said as well, and a number of people have said to me when it came up about the Voice About podcast, that the people of Termon all through the years were kind of the salt of the earth people of the town. That they would look after one another and anyone else. That they were just really, at a core, a real strong community of people. So what you're saying there adds to that, yeah.
And when the big flag came to Boyle, don't ask me, was it 1962
and 66?
Whatever.
Yeah.
What happened was the people in Termon made a good bit of money that time because there was a big crew of Gardaí that came to Boyle. Fine, handsome men, and they were put up in Termon.
Were they?
They were put up in my grandmother's house, and the people next door, and just they were hunks.
Yeah, coming from the city,
down to the sticks.
Yeah.
So I never knew that they were put up in Termon.
They were.
Brilliant.
But it was, they would have been put up on a birdhouse.
Yes,
because there was no space to walk in the town.
Yeah.
You were falling over bodies literally because everybody was there, and it was the most amazing thing ever to hit Boyle.
Oh, the amount of people.
Yeah.
We've heard many stories
And the lawn,
pictures. And
down the lawn.
Yeah.
My God, there wasn't place to park.
There's a photo, I think it's in Daly's, of a picture from, I think it was the Crescent looking down towards Creighton's, and it's just a sea of heads.
Sea of heads.
I think it's a very, I think it's in Daly's, that photo.
Yeah.
But it's
and
magic.
they wanted food everywhere, and pubs and houses were feeding them. And
every house turned into a restaurant.
It was just amazing, do you know.
And another quote then, Dolores, from your work. This tall giant of a man possessed great charity. He was very concerned for the down and outs and the old men of the roads. You were speaking, I think, about a man called Mr. Moran in your writing. So what did he teach you about kindness and compassion?
Well, I saw him in action. I saw him come out to houses in Termon. And I'm sure he was in houses in the town as well. And he used to always bring a parcel wrapped in brown paper and twine. Nobody knew what was in the parcel, but obviously it would have been provisions like tea, sugar, whatever, and he'd give money to the people. And he seemed to know somebody must have filled him in. You need to go here, you need to go there with this. And I remember that he owned the Princess Hotel at one stage up the green where the credit union is, and he'd have down and outs in staying in this place for nothing, and he'd feed them and give them a bed and let them wash themselves or whatever. I mean, I thought that was just amazing. And it teaches you not to pass maybe a homeless person on the street that's looking for money. I can't pass them, because I just think, that could be me.
Yeah.
And why look down on anybody? And somebody
Absolutely.
made a great quote. She said her dad always told her, keep your head close to the ground and you won't have far to fall. That's if you look down on anyone.
That's true,
That's
actually.
very
And that
true.
is true.
Yeah.
So he was such charity in that man.
Yeah.
And he was a lovely man, Mr. Moore.
Mr. Moore, right,
Yeah, he was well known.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was lovely.
I don't think we've heard about him before, have we?
I can't say it comes in. I would have remembered someone speaking about obviously the Princess Hotel a lot, but never a name. So that's good to
Isn't
add
that
to it.
lovely?
It's really nice.
Yeah, he was a lovely man. He really was. A big man, massive. Like, if you're a child, he looked so big.
A giant kind of thing.
Yeah, he was a giant.
And back in a time when there was no, I don't know, like I think social media and all that now, like, people do good things, don't get me wrong, but there was no recognition in it back then.
No.
You couldn't put up a Facebook post saying,
No.
oh, I did X, Y and Z.
But that
So
man
that was
wouldn't
coming
want
from
it.
within.
No.
Yeah.
That man would not want it.
So you learned the lessons
Yeah,
there.
he would not. No. I thought he was such a lovely man.
Big
Yeah.
impact. And then Dolores, the last one, which I think is lovely. It's a lovely quote from your work. It is a great pleasure for me to tell my children all I know and remember about the Green and Low Parks. So why is it so important for you? You have grandkids now, obviously. So why is it so important for you to pass on those memories and what they mean to you?
Well, you see, when I met my husband, of 46 years nearly now, we used to go out together, and we'd go out Mockmoyne and come up Boheen and around here by where we live now. And that's where we, as the saying goes, did our courting.
Yes.
And I remember him saying when we came back from Galway, the house next door came up for sale, and he goes to me, well, what do you think? And I was going, oh my God, that's out in the sticks. I'm not going up there. I couldn't drive. But anyway, he persuaded me, and we bought that house and moved in there. And all of a sudden, I got used to it, and I got used to the peace and the quiet and nature and all the different animals, foxes and different things and pheasants and everything. And then I'd be walking the kids up and down, and they got to know the neighbours, the people that lived up here. Not many when we moved up, but from further down the Green and Lower Parks. And just love it. And we sold our house, and then we built this one, and I'm here since.
Great.
So, yeah.
So that's your roots, really.
Yeah, and the boys were brought up there, and they loved it. And their friends loved it when they came, and just as something to hand on. And now we have the little grandchildren, and they love coming up here,
Brilliant. See the generations pass. So I think we'll move swiftly on to Bosnia.
Yeah.
And this story, which
I'm
I
looking
think
forward
is...
to this.
Yeah.
Because I heard bits and pieces.
Yeah. So just to give a bit of background, Dolores and a group of other people from a local prayer group travelled to Bosnia during the war in 94, I think, Dolores, you went with aid. That was the purpose of going for the trip. So the war in Bosnia began in April 92 and it ended in December 95. Approximately 100,000 people lost their lives during that time, and more than 2.2 million people were displaced.
That's right.
Which was crazy. But Dolores and a couple of her friends headed off from Ireland to bring aid on a huge trip, really, because again, you have to set the scene back in 1994.
Yes.
When there was no internet, there was no looking up, there was no knowing what was going on over there. So talk to us, Dolores, a bit about that. Setting up the trip, getting prepared. How did you feel?
Yeah.
What was that like?
Well, I suppose originally I met Irene Montgomery, and Irene invited me to join her prayer group. And there was quite a number of people in the prayer group, and it was just powerful. And Monty, her husband, was a musician, and Monty was in the prayer group. And we started to hear about, first of all, we started to hear about the war. And then we started to hear, which they had been going on since 1981, the visionaries in Medjugorje who were seeing Our Lady the whole time. So once I joined the prayer group and got to know people, I had this real desire to go to Medjugorje. And every time I tried to go, something went wrong and I could not go. So finally, anyway, in 94, Irene said, you know what, we'll organise a trip to Medjugorje. And she had another lady with her called Nancy Surlis from Balladureen. And Nancy was another saint, I think. And her son was a priest in Balladureen. And anyway, we talked to the prayer group and we decided, well, we can't go empty-handed. We have to do something for the people. So we had 26 suitcases of aid gathered. And it was all due to the generosity of the people of the town of Boyle. Ourselves contributed money. And I remember Dan and Olive Kennedy, they contributed all the nappies, the baby food, the dummies, the bottles, gripe water, you name it, Dan and Olive gave it. And then they appointed me to go down to Paddy Ryan and to Brogan's for medicine. You know, ordinary plasters and anything that you could be given without it being prescription. So Paddy Ryan was unbelievable. So one big, huge suitcase was filled with all stuff from the chemist. And then all the other suitcases were filled with clothes and things for the kids and all that. So we went up to Dublin Airport and we told the girl on the desk, we have 26 suitcases of aid. And it's a good job it wasn't Ryanair. And she let us through. She spoke to her manager, and when they heard what we were doing, we were let through. So we flew, and with that time, we flew to Montenegro. Montenegro was that time an airport, maybe just a slight bit bigger than Knock is today, but anyway, we were the last flight and we landed. And the rest of the group, the buses came for them. And Irene and Monty and myself and another few, maybe 10, were left sitting outside this airport late at night, and they were closing down the airport. There were security guards with dogs and guns there. That was the first sort of bit scary.
Yeah. So
Irene, being Irene, she goes, now, Our Lady won't let anything happen to us now because, you know, this is a setback, but we'll be grand. Irene always depended on Our Lady. And we say, whatever you say, Irene, you know. But your man comes along with the minibus and we get in on it and we're going a while and we came to a checkpoint. Soldiers, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 of them. But the bus was stopped anyway, and they came on the bus, and they had a big Alsatian dog, one of them. But the guns, you could see the guns at their sides. And everybody was deadly silent because you just felt scared. And they took all the passports off Irene. She had the passports, and they took them. And they went outside and they looked at the passports. So they decided to leave us for 2 hours. They could have let us go in no time, but they decided, we're going to hold you for 2 hours. So we were there, and all I remember Monty saying, don't say a word, you know. And the bus driver was terrified. I think he was Croatian. So they came back in on the bus and they handed back the passports. And all the time that they were outside, they were laughing and joking and smoking. So they could have let us go, but it was showing authority and power. So as we're driving along anyway, if you've ever been there, it's all, you know, steep crevices. You could fall down if a bus went. So our driver, in his goodness, decided he'd nod off. And all I could hear was Monty giving him this all merciful poke in the ribs. And Monty says, wake to bleep, bleep up. But your man did wake up. So we didn't get into Medjugorje until the middle of the night. And that time in 94, it was underdeveloped. And there was all farmhouses that you stayed in. I think there might have been one hotel, I'm not sure. So we stayed with this lovely lady in the farmhouse, and that's how they made their few pound. And she was lovely, and the food was nice and all that. So then after a few days, we decided we had to go to the hospital in Mostar because we had all this medicine. And we were told we had to go with the landlady's brother in a taxi. So there was Irene, the other lady, Nancy, and myself. And we were told to get on the floor of the taxi. that we would hear bullets. And we did, and we were terrified. We were really scared. And we got as far as the hospital in Munster and looked at it, and there was shells in the walls everywhere. And when we went in, they knew we were coming because Irene and Nancy had contacts through the lady of the house. And we got into the hospital and we were met by 3 doctors. And the first thing I noticed was on the walls, there was all these like blown up images of casualties of war with no limbs and everything. And I was really, horrified. And we told them, we have all this medicine for you. And Nancy said, and we have this. And she handed them, I think it was pounds at the time in 94, I'm not sure when the euro came in. She handed them £1,000 or euro for an incubator for the babies. And the 3 doctors were there and they started to cry. And then you look around and everybody's crying. It was so emotional. So they're very hospitable people, and they brought us down underground into their kitchen. And this bit was a little bit funny, but they give you coffee and they give you these sugary cakes. Now the cakes, your teeth would hop in your head with the sugar, and the coffee you could really trot a mouse on.
Yeah.
And some of them moved away and they were coming back with more. And Irene said to me, "Oh, if only there was a pot plant, that you could dump the coffee in." But that didn't happen.
Did Our Lady didn't provide?
Our Lady didn't
one?
provide for that one. But we went out of there, and then another incident happened where we were staying in the farmhouse, and one morning I came down and I said to the landlady, "May I borrow an iron?" And there was a man sitting in the kitchen. It was her son, and he was dressed in full military or army uniform. He was going off to war. And she was trying to tell me that he was going to war, and would we pray? She was doing, the praying hands. And I was shook hands with him, and she was crying her eyes out, and he was very tearful too, and I was tearful as well. So I promised that we'd get all the group to pray for him. Found out maybe a few years later from a contact that knew he came back. He was saved. He came back. And that was just, that was amazing. And then it wasn't all doom and gloom. Another night, Frances Graham was also with us. Do you know Frances?
Yeah.
Brilliant. She played with Monty, and she was great friends with Irene. So they all brought their instruments, you see, from Ireland. So this night, Irene said, "We're going in now," she said, "into the village." And I thought we were walking into a shop because it was a shop. But no, we were told we had to go downstairs. So when we went downstairs, there was a bar and all these soldiers in there. And the next thing, the Irish took out all the music and they were playing and they were dancing. So by the end of the night, these Croatian soldiers knew how to say "it's great crack" or "what's the crack?" And they thought we were mental. We had the best night ever. And we had to go home in the dark, we'd have flashlights going through the fields to get to the farmhouse. And I remember saying to her, "What do you think Our Lady would say to that?" And Irene would go, "Oh, she love it. She love it." And then we were brought another day. Then this is all from contacts that Irene and Nancy had. And we were brought out then to where the people were displaced, and they had all these railway carriages. And in the carriages were toilets and showers, but I couldn't see any sleeping places, but there must have been. So when we went in, we had brought a load of stuff, which is like sweets and toys and cigarettes, and this is what we were told to bring. And we met an Irishman, and he was in charge of this room that was like a storeroom, not a shop as such. But he knew who to give it to because some of them were a little bit greedy and they'd be looking for more than others, and he wanted to do it fair, But we were surrounded by people, and all you could hear the men saying was cigarettes, cigarettes, cigarettes. That's all they wanted, But there was 2 little women sitting in their clothes, these old-fashioned clothes, and I went over and sat with them, and we tried to communicate, and we succeeded a little bit. And then they brought us to an orphanage where all the children that were, or all the orphans, that was really tough.
Yeah.
They were so well looked after. It was run by the church, and the kids really had everything but their parents, But that was a bit
That was tough, Dolores.
That was, every one of us left that day and we were down in ourselves because we were just looking at these little beautiful children and, it was, not nice really.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of something. Oh, yes. We went up to one of the Hill of the Blue Cross. Two things happened that day. We were going up to this Hill of the Blue Cross and we got talking to people because you meet everybody. And one of them said one of the visionaries was called Vishka.
Yeah.
And her grandmother lived in this little old house, like a little shed with a tin roof and a half door. And we were just walking literally by her door and she called us. She did this with her hand and we went over to her and she invited us in. And I don't know, maybe it would have been like Ireland long ago. The tablecloth had an oilcloth on it. There was a chicken on the table. There was a loaf of bread half eaten. There was the butter uncovered and buckets. And it was just like that. And she goes, that we sit down. And we sat down and she took out her rosary beads. So she said a decade of the rosary, but she was saying it in Croatian and we had to answer it in English. And then we just decided we'd give her some money because she really was poor. But that poor lady, when the apparitions happened, and Vishka, her granddaughter, was one of the visionaries, she helped carry this cross up to one of the apparition sites, and it was called the Hill of the Blue Cross because the cross was blue. So it was amazing to meet her.
Lovely.
And did you ever hear, Dolores, what happened to her? Obviously Medjugorje after that was very well developed and...
Well, I would imagine that family took her in looked after her because things began to prosper.
Yes.
Out there.
So you got to see it really when it was untouched.
We did. And
the visionaries happened, Dolores, in what year? In 1981.
Yes.
So, you were there in 1994.
Yes.
So it wasn't that long after.
No, it wasn't. And our Blessed Lady appeared, as far as I know, on Cross Mountain. That's what they call it. That's a 1,000-foot high mountain. I did it twice, but I wouldn't be able to do it ever again. Very tough, but worth it. And we had the opportunity when we were there to meet Vishka, one of the visionaries.
Right.
She came, it wasn't just us, there was a load of people, but she came out to pray with you. And there was some light in her eyes you could not explain. It was so brilliant and dazzling in her eyes. And she came along and she'd pray with you, but she put her hand on you. I thought I was going to go down to the ground and disappear because her strength was something else.
Yeah.
And she couldn't speak English that time. She was praying in Croatian. And then another thing happened where we were told there was going to be an apparition of Our Lady. But for this time, it was in some tent. They put up a tent somewhere, and this was really early in the morning, and we couldn't get in because it was so packed. So we went under the tent because the sun beating down. And the strange thing was, we were told that the minute the apparition would happen, when she appeared to one of the visionaries, the birds would stop singing and everything would go silent. And that's exactly, we just knew everything went dead silent for the duration, which wouldn't be long, of the apparition. And the minute the apparition ended, the birds went bananas. They were singing their little hearts out. But us being us, we decided we're going into that tent to see, can we feel anything or see anything, because it was over. So we were climbing in to get into the tent, and this man helped me over a bench thing. And I went over, and this was the statue of Our Blessed Lady. And so I put my hand in her hand, and he comes over. He said, I was in here, I was sitting there. He says, she came through the statue.
Wow.
So I didn't know that at the time. So again, that was very emotional, to think that you touched the statue.
Yes.
And you were drawn to that.
Oh, yeah, very drawn to it, There were several things that you'd see that did happen, the sun dancing in the sky. You'd see amazing things. You'd hear about amazing people getting healed emotionally. You see a lot of people crying. I cried myself. You'd be in the church and you wouldn't know why you'd be crying, and you'd be going, why am I crying? Why am I crying? And I would say, well, Our Lady's taking care of that.
But poor
Irene,
Yeah.
And it was the most amazing experience ever.
Brilliant, Dolores. I think you touched there on kind of the next thing I wanted to mention was good versus evil. So, one side in Bosnia, one part of Bosnia, you had the war and people been killed and displaced, so much evil. And then a couple of miles up the road was Medjugorje, where you had so much faith and love and goodness.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about that, how that felt, considering they were so close.
Well, when I first went there, I didn't know what to expect because I wouldn't be at that time very close to our Blessed Lady because, I would just be, her son would be the man I'd be calling on. And it's not that I don't love her, I do. But I thought when I landed in Medjugorje the next day, going out into the garden where you could pick the fruit off their trees, it's like heaven touched earth. There was this feeling. I can't describe it properly, but it was a feeling of, heaven is touching earth here. And even when we went to the apparition sites, you felt something. And then one of the days coming back from an apparition site, we were told there was gunfire. We were told to hit the ground, and we did hit the ground because we did what we were told with guides. And we just kept thanking God. But I found out afterwards that not one bit of Medjugorje was damaged during the war, and she told the visionaries that it won't be touched, despite everything that happened there, and despite their parish priests being jailed for sedition because they were communists and being harassed, and the visionaries being harassed.
Yeah.
Medjugorje was never touched.
Never touched.
Evil never touched it. Only good. And to this day, there's some of them are receiving visions, and I've been there 4 times, and please God, I'll go again. And it's the most amazing place. You'd have to go
to experience.
To feel it.
A lot of people say that.
Yeah. And the last time I managed to persuade my husband to go, and we went. This was a new thing to me. There was a figure of our Lord, massive, on a crucifix, and oil was coming from his wounds and coming down the legs, and you got these little handkerchiefs, and there was the most beautiful smell of the oil, like roses or something like that. So I got him to carry 5, and I carried 5 because I wanted to give it to people.
Yeah.
And when I stood up near it, anyway, the oil decides to stop. And I looked up, I said, I know God, you have a sense of humour, but please now.
Sort me out.
If you don't mind.
Bit more oil.
And down it came. It really came. And that was another, wonderful experience.
Yeah.
Brilliant, Dolores.
Yeah.
So I'd say, you came home a changed woman from that initial trip.
From the first trip, yes.
First trip.
I did.
And obviously then that led to your later trips.
It did.
It changed you.
It did in a way. It changed me. Now I could do with more changing. To be quite honest with you,
we all
could.
could.
Do a lot
we all
of it,
could.
Yeah.
But you saw life a bit differently, considering you had seen firsthand. And again, it was a time where we're not exposed to what we are today. Like you turn on the telly now and war is just in your face.
Yeah.
Whereas back then, we didn't have that.
No,
it was a different world.
It was totally different. But to see the people and to get a snapshot of life during the war, and especially, I suppose, to see a mother crying for her son, that was the most thing that hit me.
Yeah. You had your boys at home, obviously, at that stage.
And then, like, if they were talking about bringing young men and women off to war, like, you say, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's why I'd have such affinity with the people of Ukraine and all those places along the Gaza Strip, the people suffering so much.
Yeah.
It's unreal, but that's evil, pure evil, But God is in charge.
Yeah.
Let him not forget.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it.
And as my uncle used to say, he works in mysterious ways.
He does.
So when you're not sure, that's what he used to always say. He works in mysterious ways.
He does, yeah. And your prayers will be answered.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Well, Dolores, I think that's my questions asked that I am just looking down here now. So I suppose a bit of reflection and to close up our chat. What have we not talked about that you'd like to talk about, or is there anything specific?
Well, I suppose there's just one thing. To refer back to the Leaving Cert when you didn't pass it because you didn't have maths, just to say that when I did come back to Boyle, when the boys were getting bigger, I was able to go for jobs. And I decided I better go back to school in some way. And then I did a childcare, a VTech level 5 childcare. And then I did the VTech level 5 caring for the elderly. And then I did business studies. And I got them all. And I was shocked at myself that I got these, and especially shocked when I got the maths and the business studies, because maths and me do not agree, But it was great to be able to achieve those little things and to educate yourself and to work in care. I worked in a creche on the Carrick Road, and the lady was just wonderful. And I love little children because they're so honest. They say it as it is.
They do.
They do not hold back.
No filter.
And then I did that, and I worked then. I knew business studies working in an office, it bore me to death. So no. So I decided then I was going to head down the road of care, because I had been voluntarily looking after an uncle-in-law for 9 years. So I decided I'll go into care, and I got the Care Award, the VTech Level 5. And it was a privilege to get it, because at that time they were saying it was equal to first year of university or nursing school. And I thought, oh my God, which was brilliant. And then I started working for agencies minding the elderly in their homes. And they're my favourite people too, because they say it as it is too. They have no filter.
Yeah.
And they're just wonderful. And they're living history. I'm just sorry that their families don't write down memories and
So
snapshots of their lives and keep it, for
so
them.
important.
Oh, it's so important. They're our treasures.
That's it.
They really are.
Yeah, that's why we feel so strongly about what we're doing with the Voices of Boyle, because like stories like yours, Dolores, and everyone has a story.
Everyone has.
It's so important, I think, to record these so that people, obviously now and in the future, can enjoy them
and
just
and
listen have them and hear that person speak like you are about your time in Bosnia and all these experiences that you've had in life. And
your own grandkids now can listen back to this in 20 years' time.
Yeah. And it's lovely for the grandchildren, to know these things.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we'd love to finish on a little poem, which is very unusual here, because we normally don't have anyone that has written a poem.
We've no poets on the Voices of Boyle yet.
Yeah.
But the town is full of them.
Yeah. Boyle is a very, very creative town, isn't it?
Very artistic.
Yeah.
So it's called Boyle, isn't it, Dolores?
It's called Boyle.
Yeah. And in your own time?
Right. Boyle in the County Roscommon is a place I love to be. Our beautiful Curlew Mountains and lakes are a sight to see. A tall, imposing abbey, outlined against the sky, captures the imagination of people passing by. If you're into walking, visit our forest park. See the rolling landscape and how it's left its mark. Enjoy the sport of fishing around our local lakes. Shoot, hunt and cycle ride. Boyle has all it takes. So please do come and visit. You will be treated well. The locals are all friendly. You leave with a tale to tell.
Fantastic.
Lovely.
Fantastic.
It's lovely.
Yeah, lovely, Dolores. I think that's the perfect way to end it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we'd love to say thanks for your time.
Thank you for
It's been an
inviting us
absolute
into
pleasure,
your lovely home. It's been a pleasure. And it's really enjoyed that episode.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dolores.
No,
Thank
thank
you.
you for having me. Thank you.